Everyone. Happy New Year. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I am here to talk about fatal attractions today. So, tuning in, and I am a palm reading consultant, compatibility expert, and heart harmonizer. And I really want you to find your soulmate match this year in 2020. That is my goal for you. If you haven't already found your soulmate, I'm so passionate about love and helping people find long-lasting love. And I want to talk about a very serious topic today, fatal attractions, because they really are, they keep us from love, and we don't want that. So, and I'm going to be sharing a few things about my own past relationship that I had on and off for over 2 years, and I consider it to be a fatal attraction relationship. And by the way, when I say the term fatal attraction, what I'm referring to is a toxic relationship, or simply a relationship that is it's teaching you something. Okay, so we're going to get into that. So, what is a fatal attraction relationship? Well, it's you've maybe had this type of relationship before. Maybe you've started out very hot and heavy. It's like, ooh, instant attraction. The person who you're physically attracted to, you can't stop thinking about them. They're constantly in your head. You just want to be with them all the time. That's actually something that, it could be a soulmate relationship, but it could also be a fatal attraction relationship or a toxic relationship. And then you probably get intimate right away. And then you probably start to see the problems coming up. Okay, so this is really where we have to understand, what are these toxic signals that maybe we are getting into. So the ones that are obvious, of course, verbal abuse, and this can come through any number of ways. Somebody calling you stupid, or somebody calling you ugly. With my relationship, it was always like, your teeth are crooked and your nose is too big. And I used to get that pretty much every day in that relationship. And I was like, oh man, I started to get really self-conscious about my nose. And I started thinking, well, maybe it is too big. And then I actually did end up getting my teeth straightened during that relationship, which, for good or bad, that was something that happened in that relationship. But yeah, that would constitute as verbal abuse, right? When you're constantly getting belittled. Another thing to watch out for, of course, physical abuse is something that is very serious. And of course, I would always recommend that if that is the case, you need to immediately get out of that relationship and go get help. Okay, so don't put up with it. But some of the more subtle ones can also come in, and this is where people may not actually recognize that they're in this type of toxic relationship. So one is the need for one of the people in the relationship, one of the partners, to rescue the other person. Okay, so this was actually something that I recognized in my fatal attraction relationship. It was, I saw the potential, and this is often what will happen if you're a very giving, sensitive type person. You see the potential in other people, and you think, I want to help you. I want to do something really good for you. And that's all well and good. But if you're constantly the one trying to rescue or save that person, and they're not doing anything to actually change, chances are you're in a toxic relationship. Okay, so you got to recognize that. And that can be a big eye-opening kind of stress and struggle. There's also periods of closeness and then separation. So, for example, you may feel like, okay, we're inseparable for days and days and days at a time, and then suddenly you don't hear from them for 2 weeks. That is the sign of a fatal attraction relationship, because it's almost like a magnet effect, where you're being attracted and then you're being pulled away, you're being attracted and then you're being pulled away. That doesn't happen in soulmate relationships usually. So that is a good signal that you're maybe in a toxic relationship. There's also complete uncertainty about the relationship. So, for example, you may think, oh, maybe he'll call me today. Okay, so if you're in that period of like you haven't heard from the person for 2 weeks, but you're constantly thinking about it, maybe you're texting that person, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm not really stable in this relationship. So the other person is really going to keep you guessing. And, I realized during that 2-year period that I was in that toxic relationship, that sometimes I would be waiting by the phone thinking he's going to call me today, and then he didn't. And it was very depressing. I'll just put it that way. It's very depressing for me, and it made me realize that maybe something wasn't quite right with that relationship. There's also putting up with very bad behavior. Okay, so when you're in a fatal attraction relationship, I had some pretty bad things happen to me. One of them was this, he would say, I want to sleep with college women. And he was in his 50s, I was in my 40s. College women obviously are much younger than that. And that was something that really was crushing to me, because I was faithful in the relationship, but obviously when you hear something like that, it's like, well, maybe I'm not so stable. Okay, so it can be very eye-opening. Another one could be about forgetting about plans you've been making for weeks. So for example, coming back from a trip or something, and maybe you were planning a dinner together, and then suddenly those plans never happened. That's another sign that maybe you're in a fatal attraction relationship. I had some other bad behavior happen too. My fatal attraction actually threw away a gift I gave him right in front of me, and I was just trying to cheer him up. And that I've never ever had that happen to me before. It really made me mad, and obviously it was very hurtful. And that some of those things still kind of twinge at me a little bit. But now that I'm in a soulmate relationship, I'm married, I'm very happy now. It just makes me realize that I want to help people who are going through this type of relationship. And I want you to know that you're not alone. You're definitely, there's nothing wrong with you if you are going through something like this. And I want to look at that. Okay. So let's actually take a look at why do we attract fatal attractions. Okay. So quantum physics tells us that we live in a participatory universe. Okay, so what that means is that we actually co-create our reality. Okay, so that means we can't blame our partner for this bad behavior, even though we would like to. And trust me, that's the easiest thing to do, right? It's all his fault. It's all her fault. I want you to stop thinking like that. Okay, we need to retrain the way that we think, because we are actually responsible for everything in our lives. Okay, because of what we are learning from quantum physics, and that is that we live in a participatory universe. And so if we are creating our reality, what does that mean? Well, we could be creating this relationship. And why on earth would we do this? Why would we create something that's so painful and so horrible? And my answer to that is that the universe is trying to teach us. In fact, everything around us is trying to teach us something. So, and I want you to really know that we're trying to learn lessons so that we return back to love, because everything is really love. And when we recognize that, everything changes, I promise. I look back on my toxic relationship and I learned so much. And it has to do with the next things that I'm going to be talking about. So, by the way, if you're just joining us, I'm Cynthia Clark and I'm from lovinyourhands.com. And I want to help you find your soulmate match, which is so much better than that fatal attraction match. So, if you're just tuning in, we're going over why we attract fatal attractions. So, if you happen to be one of those people who's managed to draw in this type of lesson, first of all, just be gentle with yourself. You know, don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame the other person either. Let go of the blame. Okay, that's not helpful. What we want to do is recognize that we have subconscious influences that affect everything going on inside of us and outside of us. So, to attract a soulmate relationship, we actually need to believe the following things about the universe and about ourselves. Okay, number one, love exists. Okay, if you don't believe in love, you're probably not going to attract love, right? Okay, number two, love exists for me. Okay, you have to know that you can actually attract love and that it exists. Okay, you have to be able to give and receive love. Okay, giving and receiving. And this is such an important thing. You know, we can't just be giving, because what happens in that relationship? They probably don't appreciate it, right? So we have to be able to give and receive. Okay, and these are important details. So when I was in that fatal attraction relationship, I felt like, oh, if I just give him more and more and more, he's going to love me more and he's finally going to commit to me. And the truth was, that didn't happen. In fact, it pushed him away. And I didn't realize it right away, but that's what I was doing. And it was because of the next item on the list is that you need to love and respect yourself enough to say no to all that is not love. Okay, so I fell into this fatal attraction relationship when I was actually just coming off of a 19-year marriage. So I was pretty darn vulnerable. And I felt like the relationship ended because of me. I blamed myself. And I also felt like I was a complete failure in love, even though I had succeeded at it for over 22 years. That's how long I was with my first partner. And that was a tough thing. So I was really in kind of this pit of despair. And being in that pit of despair was not a good place to be in, but that's when you are more than likely to attract this type of relationship, a fatal attraction, because suddenly you don't believe love exists, you don't believe it can work for you, all those things that we need to believe, right? You go into this opposite sort of tailspin, and you definitely are not able to give and receive love. You're kind of in this, junk. Ugh, not fun. So what do we do instead? Well, we need to start working on all of these things. We need to start believing in love again. We need to start knowing that we can have love. We need to pick ourselves up and we need to try again. One of the saddest things that I find people doing is that they just give up on love altogether and they say, forget it. I don't need love in my life. I can do this all by myself. And the truth is, you can get through life by yourself. And if that's what you really want, then that's great. But if it's not, don't give up on love, because love does exist for you. Okay? But you need to start working on it. So another thing that I want to tell you guys today, which is really exciting, is that your hands actually do tell you who your fatal attraction is. And that was something that I have been reading hands for over 10 years, and I've read for over 7,000 people in that amount of time. And I read my fatal attraction's hands before we started dating, before any of it. And I knew in the back of my mind, hey, this is probably not the best match. And I fully understood that, but then I kept discounting what I knew, which is so funny how we do that, right? We try to rationalize everything and say, oh, no, this is actually, this doesn't apply to me. Boy, was I wrong about that. But if I had followed my own advice, getting into a new relationship, I would have put up the red flags. I would have said, you know what, I'm going to take this really slow because number one, I'm in a bad situation, just getting out of a marriage. That's not the best time to jump into another relationship. And number two, it's like, I know who I'm best compatible with, and my hands tell me that, and I need to follow my own advice. So I want to give you an example here of a hand. Okay, so this particular hand is not my hand, by the way. It is a hermit archetype. Okay, so you can identify hermit archetypes by their short fingers and square palm. So they have a big wide palm, and they have a long little finger. Okay, so we call that the Mercury finger. And that combination creates what I call the hermit archetype. So hermits are very intelligent people, by the way, but they tend to keep things more to themselves. You almost have to like pull the information out of them. And their best match is what we call the dreamer archetype. And that's going to be somebody with long fingers and a long rectangular palm and a strong ring finger. Okay, so by the way, this is a system that I've created to help people understand who they're not only matched to as far as a soulmate match, but also who is their potential fatal attraction. So if that is a soulmate relationship person, okay, this person who is the hermit, their fatal attraction is actually going to be one called the Wheel of Fortune. And that's going to be somebody with short fingers, a long rectangular palm, and a strong Apollo finger. So they can be attracted to that type of person because that's a very charismatic archetype. It's also a very common archetype too, by the way, the Wheel of Fortune types. But that type of person is not going to relate emotionally to this type of person. So you can actually see the problems that are going to possibly arise more than likely in the relationship as it gets going. So if this person who is the hermit and I were recommending to them a partner and they brought to me a Wheel of Fortune hand, I'd be like, you know what? There's some red flags with this connection. And I would recommend they take it slow with their eyes wide open and try to figure out if they can work through those challenges. But if you have the opportunity to actually connect to somebody who is more in alignment with you naturally, then that's what I would actually recommend. And your hands are reflecting subconscious influences that, this hand shape forms by the time you are 6 years old. So when you think about being a little baby to the time you're 6 years old, you're completely in your subconscious mind and you are absorbing everything around you. And that is going to affect your personality. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect how you look at the world, how you create your world. It affects everything. So knowing what these influences are, which your hands tell you, can actually help you to make better decisions about your relationships in your life. So isn't it neat that there's a tool out there that does that? So I would recommend that you start your new year off right. So yay, it's a brand new year, brand new decade. We're just about to start a brand new 12-year cycle in the Chinese New Year coming up January 25th. And this is an opportunity for you to set a new intention. So this is something I would love for you. If you're single and if you are either in a fatal attraction relationship or you just want to find your soulmate, I recommend that you set your intention. Okay, and I would actually write this down, by the way, if you have a pen and paper. Obviously not if you're driving. I release toxic relationships and choose to create a soulmate relationship. Okay, because we want to let go of all that is not love, and we want to bring love in. Okay, that's what I want for you. Something meaningful, something long lasting, and something that is that makes you feel just expansive. Okay, that's what I want for you. Because soulmate love is very expansive and it supports you in all that you are, and you don't have to apologize, for your nose or whatever. You can just be you, and that's more than enough. Okay, so I have a brand new 5-day challenge, which I encourage you to start. It's called Align to Your Soulmate. And if you're interested in starting, just click on my page here, Play Game, and you can get started today. By the way, I am offering a prize to a winner every month. So at the end of the month, we'll be doing a drawing for an Amazon $20 gift card. So if you're interested and you need to be single, okay, and you need to be looking for your soulmate, then this is for you. So every day I'm going to take you through a new step that you can start working and utilizing right away, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Cynthia Clark, your palm reading consultant, compatibility expert, and heart harmonizer. And I wish you the very best in the new year. And I want nothing but love and harmony to be filled in your life. So you can also go to loveinyourhands.com if you want to learn more. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you so much. And I'll connect with you again next week at the same time. So take care.